We live in a time when everything feels urgent, but our urgency is misplaced. We hurry through our days chasing money, convenience, status, or distractions, all the while blind to the deeper callings of life. We've built a human landscape so crowded with signals, rules, and flashing neon promises that we hardly notice the ecosystems that quietly sustain us. It's not that we don't care about the natural world. We just rarely attend to it, and in a qualiadelic sense, attending is everything. The ethical task of our era is simple to say but difficult to live. We must refocus on ecosystems instead of the human landscape, and to do that, we must learn to notice qualia instead of matter. Matter is what we grasp and hoard, the stuff of competition, the substance we fight wars over. Qualia, by contrast, are the patterns of experience, the redness of a berry, the rhythm of waves, the tone of a bird call at dusk. They cannot be owned. They can only be noticed, shared, and ritualed with. To live ethically, then, is to shift our attention from matter to qualia, from possession to participation. This is not a lofty abstraction. It is as practical as learning to breathe more deeply, or as concrete as choosing gratitude over greed. It is also as ancient as philosophy itself. Aristotle taught that everything has four causes: material, efficient, formal, and final. For centuries, we have been obsessed with the material cause, what something is made of, and the efficient cause, what force produces it. But we have forgotten the formal cause, the pattern that shapes it, and the final cause, its ultimate purpose or end. A snowflake is not explained by water alone. Its essence is in the six-sided geometry that unfolds as vapor crystallizes, a pattern that is as much a formal cause as ice itself. Likewise, the purpose of that snowflake is not exhausted by its temporary form. It will melt, flow, nourish the soil, and rejoin the cycle of life. Its final cause is to serve the larger harmony of ecosystems. In the same way, human life cannot be explained only by our bodies or even by our social systems. We are shaped by qualiadelic patterns, and our final cause, if we are to live ethically, is not endless consumption or self-importance. Our final cause is to rebalance with ecosystems, to take our place again in the greater order of being. 1. The mind and the kite string. It helps here to distinguish between the brain and the mind. The brain, like the body, is part of the outer landscape. Neurons, synapses, chemicals, all matter. The mind, however, is qualiadelic. It is made of thoughts, images, stories, intuitions. It is not physical, but experiential. Think of the mind as a kite, and the brain as the hand that holds it. The kite soars far above, tugging and dipping in winds that the hand cannot feel directly. The connection between them is as thin as a string, yet through that string passes the whole tension of life: memory, imagination, possibility. The mind can leap across geological time, contemplate multiverses, or savor the fleeting dusk song of a bird. It can pause, reflect, and choose, something the brain alone cannot do. And this capacity for wonder, for basking in qualia rather than chasing matter, is what we ought to cultivate. But instead, we have entangled the mind in the sticky web of the human landscape. Our landmarks are no longer mountain peaks or river valleys, but bank accounts, highways, and deadlines. Our pathways are not migratory routes or trails of stars, but credit scores and career ladders, useful perhaps, but deeply impoverished. The ethical question is not whether these constructs help us survive, but whether they help us live. Do they bring us into alignment with the formal causes of life, the patterns that ecosystems reveal? Do they guide us toward our final cause of rebalancing with the whole? Too often the answer is no. 2. Addiction, ritual, and the two dopamines. Our failure to notice qualia leaves us addicted to matter. The economy thrives on this. Bigger houses, newer gadgets, more intoxicating pleasures. This is what I call big dopamine, the rush we get from stimulation and novelty. It is thrilling but not sustaining. Like sugar, it leaves us hungrier than before. There is another path, little dopamine. This is the quiet reward of noticing, the contentment that arises not from acquisition but from attention. A bird's song, the curve of a cloud, the subtle pleasure of an old habit made new again through conscious ritual. The difference between the two is not small. Big dopamine is addictive because it orients us toward matter, the next purchase, the next hit, the next conquest. Little dopamine is liberating because it orients us toward qualia, the next pattern, the next perception, the next act of wonder. The way out of addiction, then, is not to deny pleasure, but to ritual with it. Consciously ritualing means stepping aside from the routine, taking a breath, and noticing the qualia already present. We don't need a stronger drink or a bigger thrill. We need a fresher way of seeing. The familiar becomes alive again when infused with attention. Ritualing in this way works on everything from beer and sex to shopping and gaming. Instead of chasing the next fix, we notice the qualia in what is already here. Sometimes that awareness makes the old pleasure glow again. Sometimes it frees us to let go and move on. Either way, it restores balance. Addiction is the distortion of the human landscape. Ritual is the rebalancing with ecosystems. One contracts, the other expands. One clings, the other participates. One consumes, the other shares. 3. Ecosystems as the higher power. When I speak of a higher power, I don't mean a distant deity. I mean ecosystems. They are the source from which all qualia arise: color, sound, taste, texture, rhythm. They are the ultimate patterns of life, the formal causes that shape our experience. Animals know this instinctively. When landscapes change, fire, flood, invasion, they must discover new qualia to adapt. A bird may ritual with the altered pattern of wind, a fish with the shifted rhythm of current. Their survival depends on it. Humans ritual too, but often abstractly. We ritual with ideas, theories, stories. The scientific method itself is a grand ritual of noticing, testing, and sharing qualia. Yet our rituals often lose touch with ecosystems, turning into self-referential games within the human landscape. What we need is controlled spontaneity, the willingness to act playfully with the qualia ecosystems present. This is how inspiration comes, not through dogma or compulsion, but through openness. An artist moves beyond technique, a seeker beyond doctrine, a community beyond fear. The gift is never guaranteed, but it arrives when we are ready to notice. This play is moral because it orients us away from good versus evil binaries and toward gratitude and cooperation. It is not about control, but about participation. It is about hearing the subtle invitations of ecosystems and responding with humility. To live this way is to become qualiadelic, to notice, ritual, and share. More gratitude, less greed. More wonder, less domination. 4. The qualiosphere. We live within 3 interwoven spheres: atmosphere, biosphere, and what I call the qualiosphere. The atmosphere sustains breath. The biosphere sustains life. The qualiosphere sustains meaning. It is made of symbols, metaphors, stories, and songs, all the patterns of experience that human consciousness has generated over the last 100,000 years. But here is the danger. The qualiosphere can harmonize with ecosystems or clash against them. Whales sing in harmony with their seas. Their songs enrich both biosphere and qualiosphere. Humans, on the other hand, often use our symbolic capacity to dominate, manipulate, and exploit. We fill the qualiosphere with noise, advertising, propaganda, endless chatter. The ethical challenge is clear. Can we stop the cacophony long enough to hear the music of the spheres? Can we align the formal causes of our symbolic life with the formal causes of ecosystems? Can we let our final cause be not domination but rebalance? If we cannot, the qualiosphere will collapse back into the biosphere in tragedy. If we can, it may expand into a harmony that sings far beyond our little planet. 5. Ethics as sharing qualia. At its heart, morality is not a set of rules. It is the practice of sharing qualia. Ecosystems reveal their qualia freely. The redness of a berry, the fragrance of a flower, the curve of a coastline. Each is an invitation into relationship. When we notice and ritual with these qualia, we participate in what I call qualiadelic selection. This is not natural selection of genes, but the selection of experiences. Beings who notice and ritual with new qualia adapt and thrive. Those who ignore or exploit without balance falter. The most successful strategy here is not selfishness, but cooperation. Game theory calls it tit for tat. Ecosystems call it reciprocity. We might simply call it sharing. But qualia cannot be bought and sold without distortion. To commodify them is to destroy the spirit of cooperation they engender. The ethical stance is not ownership, but participation. Not mine, but ours. Not possession, but gift. This is why selfishness corrodes morality. It focuses on matter instead of qualia, on hoarding instead of sharing. It forgets that we do not choose our qualia. Qualia chooses us. Our freedom is in whether we ritual with it, whether we allow it to shape us into beings of gratitude and belonging. 6. Toward a qualiadelic economy. If heroes are what we want, let us not look to autocrats or billionaires. Let us look to those who dare to sin with qualia. It takes courage to let go of big dopamine, to surrender addictive patterns, to risk ridicule for a fragile idea. But ideas shared are not diminished, they grow. A qualiadelic economy would value ideas not for ownership, but for participation. Their worth increases the more they are noticed, played with, and expanded by others. Payment in such an economy is not profit, but meaning. Status is not dominance, but belonging. Heroes are not conquerors, but sharers. This is not utopian fantasy. It is already how ecosystems work. It is already how qualia works. Our task is simply to align our human economy with these deeper patterns, to let the formal cause of cooperation guide us toward the final cause of harmony. 7. The snowflake and the seed. Let me return to the snowflake. When dust encounters vapor high in the sky, a crystal forms. Around it grows a pattern, always hexagonal, always unique. The sixfold symmetry is the formal cause, the shaping principle of water. The flake's eventual melting and return to the cycle is its final cause. So too with qualia. Each perception is a seed around which ideas form. Each is unique to the mind that notices it, yet each follows patterns deeper than ourselves. If we let those patterns guide us, our thoughts can flow back into the larger ecosystem like water returning to the sea. But if we fixate on the snowflake as a possession, something to hoard or exploit, we lose both pattern and purpose. We turn verbs into nouns, journeys into commodities, ecosystems into human landscapes. The ethical task is to reverse this, to see snowflakes as verbs, not things, to nurture patterns instead of possessions, to serve the final cause of balance, not the illusion of control. 8. The larger organism. A tree's roots, branches, and leaves do not know they are part of a tree. Each notices only its immediate qualia, moisture, sunlight, nutrients. Their purpose is not obvious to them, but together they sustain a larger organism. So too with us. We notice only fragments of the whole, scraps of qualia within our personal landscapes. Yet we are part of something larger, not just a human society, but a planetary ecosystem. To realize this is to reconceive our purpose. To live ethically is to see ourselves not as a cancer on Earth, but as an organ in its greater body. The question then is simple but urgent. Will we recognize our place in time? Will we attend to the patterns ecosystems reveal? Will we allow our final cause to be balance instead of conquest? The answer is not given. It is ours to choose. And our choosing is not abstract. It happens every time we notice qualia, every time we ritual with it, every time we share. 9. Conclusion. Be qualiadelic. Aristotle was right. To understand anything, we must ask about its causes. We have asked too much of matter and efficiency, and too little of form and purpose. The ethical life is not built on what we own or how we force, but on what we notice and why we belong. The formal cause is in the patterns of qualia, snowflakes, spirals, rhythms, loves. The final cause is in rebalancing with ecosystems, gratitude, reciprocity, harmony. We do not need more control. We need more wonder. We do not need more possessions. We need more participation. We do not need more greed. We need more gratitude. The path forward is not obscure. It is as simple as being qualiadelic, noticing qualia, ritualing with it, sharing it, and letting it guide us back into the balance of ecosystems. This is not just philosophy, it is ethics. It is survival. It is joy. Be qualiadelic, ought we not?